Oops. Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Maria Kay, and today we have a part 2 of video of reaction to TikTok videos about Eastern European culture, Russian culture, American versus Russian culture, and everything like this. Okay, and we'll start. Let's go. American versus Russian teacher when you get a bad grade. Okay.
This American versus Russian teacher when you get a bad grade.
Oh, okay. This is your book, okay, but if you could give me one little favor. Don't look at your grade now, okay? See me at lunch and we will look together. No, there's no problem. I would just rather you look at your grade with me, okay? To make sure everything's okay.
Faster, this is not the patient.
Oh, and now we have the paper of the smartest person in the class. Someone who's too smart to even do the paper, but can just put their name on it and receive the magical grade of F. You!
What do you mean that's not your paper?
All right. My 4-year-old wrote this.
Where's your paper?
Oh, that's your paper.
A is an accent. You still get an F.
Yeah, it's true.
Let's talk about
Soviet apartment blocks. Oh, yeah.
Soviet apartment blocks.
The ones that we saw in the previous video.
We all know how dystopian and brutalist they look on the outside and on the inside, but I never see anyone talk about the upsides to these apartment blocks or the good parts about them, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to be generalizing here because not every single building was the same, so if your experience was different, please let me know in the comments. There are two types. The first one is the Khrushchevkas, which are 5-story modular apartment blocks built in the 1960s. This was a very early use of prefabrication where concrete panels were made at a factory and then shipped to the job site and assembled. Here's one example. A building could take as little as 2 weeks to construct, and 64,000 were constructed in 7 years. And these were the Brezhnevkas, which were basically the 2.0 version of that. These ones were much taller, 9 to 12 or 15 stories.
I guess I lived in a Khrushchevka. In Khrushchevka, yeah. I think so. When I was a kid.
They were built between 1960 and 1980. I think they're pretty cool. I kind of like brutalist architecture. Like this one. This is called the Bagel. But that's probably because I spent the first 5 years of my life in one of these buildings. Not this one. This one's really cool. Now, the main advantage of a building like this is that it will keep you alive in 40 below weather. Russia's winters are very brutal. The walls were at least 12 inches thick, and many of these buildings had 2 panels of windows. Right, so one on the outside and then one on the inside with some air in between, and that contributed a lot to the insulation qualities of these buildings, as well as the mandatory carpet hung on a wall. I know people say that the insulation in these buildings are bad, but you have to remember that a Russian person's standards for insulation are much higher than someone who doesn't live in a place where winters are this harsh. They did have central heating system with radiators, and sometimes they break down in the winter and there would be no heat and no hot water.
Yeah.
But these buildings would keep you from freezing in that type of weather if the heat goes off. You might have to go to sleep with all your coats on, but you will be alive in the morning. Another nice thing about these apartment blocks was that they were usually built around a park like this, where the kids could play and the elderly people could sit and gossip. It also meant that there was always an adult watching the kids. And since people tended to live in these buildings for decades, they knew all of their neighbors. And of course, the crowning achievement of the Soviet apartment block, a separate room for the toilet, separate from the tub and sink.
Okay, she's right. They're so skinny. Do you eat anything? I want to build a career first. At your age, I had 3 kids. Yeah. Dating Slavic girls be like, okay, I can pay for myself. kind of true, but she's funny. Okay. So, okay.
So Russians do not complain about physical comfort like Americans do. Let me explain. Russians can live with no electricity, no water, no heating for a very long time. If we have it, it's great. If we don't have it, not a big deal. Life goes on. For example, the majority of Russians live in tall apartment buildings, sort of like low-income apartment buildings in New York, but over there it's not low income. We have central heating and it's controlled by a government. So in September and October, it's already cold over there. Everybody wearing hats and jackets, but government turned on heating only in November. So
that is different from region to region. For Moscow, maybe yes, that's true. Like they will turn on the heating in November. But for my hometown, it's in Siberia, so the central heating starts working in October usually. Like, yeah, in the beginning of October. So, but yes, September is already cold. in Siberia, it's like, yes, you have to wear hats and jackets. And I'm not sure if she's right about complaining, because in my opinion, Russians like complaining. Like they really love doing this. Like they complain every single day or like about everything and about physical or like living conditions too. Okay, let's see.
everybody freezing for 2 months. That's okay. Not a big deal. Another example, during summertime, it's a normal practice for government to shut down hot water.
Yeah, or water in general, she says.
Water in general.
That's true. For example, for my hometown and the district where I lived, it was not summer, it was May. So it's just every May they would shut down the hot water, and it's still cold outside because it's Siberia, it's Russia, and it's like plus something, I don't know, like +9 outside, Celsius, of course, 9 degrees in Celsius, and then we will not have hot water for like months or something like this. It was just awful, really.
For up to 1 month. That's okay. Not a big deal. Everybody just go take a shower at their relative.
I wouldn't say that was not a big deal, because it was actually. It was so inconvenient, so uncomfortable. You can't even imagine, really.
Or friends' house. People who live in villages still don't have water, so they drill ice and use buckets to get their water.
Or they use the well. Yeah, or some kind of well, yeah. Most of them, they do like this, live.
That's okay. Not a big deal. Second thing is Russians are not bothered with rules. In America, you have excessive amount of rules. Your dog pooped not at the right spot. You pay a fine. You park the car somewhere you're not supposed to. You pay a fine. You bought a property, but you are not allowed to have a fire. You own a house, but you can't build anything on it. In Russia, we don't have too many rules. It's mostly left to a common sense. For example, you buy a property, you can do whatever you want on it. You want to build a huge fence, build a huge fence. Just like don't harm your neighbors.
It depends on where you bought your property, because if it's like historical part of the city, you cannot do whatever you want actually. And so she's not completely correct here, but I see what she means.
Own a house, you pay taxes on it, you can do whatever you want. You can build 3-story, you can dig a pool, you can do whatever you want. You don't want to pick up shit after your dog? That's okay. It's disgusting,
Yeah.
especially during spring.
Yes, during springtime it's awful, like really disgusting, as she said, yes.
When all snow is melting, but it's allowed. And the last thing you need to know about Russia is if you want to work in a beauty industry in Russia, no license are required. Of course, if you're a medical cosmetologist, yes. But if you want to do nails, lashes, brows, waxing, no license are required.
I'm surprised. do Americans need a license to be like to work in the beauty industry, like do nails and brows? Really? Because in Russia, yes, you don't need this. You just take a course, like a short course. It can take like about 2 or 3 months, something like this, and that's it. And then you start working in a beauty salon or whatever you want, or maybe your private clients, friends, whatever, and earn some money. I don't know.
I would say Russian beauty industry is like 10 years ahead of American one. I don't know what they teach in schools for $10,000, where you need to spend 1 year to study nails.
Really? Is it true? Let me know, please, in the comments if you know something about beauty industry in America or like in the USA and in Europe in general. Let me know if it's true or not, because it sounds not very like true. Not very true.
I find it super ridiculous, and no such things is required in Russia.
Okay, Eastern Europeans. Kill him. Actually, he's not from Eastern Europe, but his face expression is just yeah. That's kind of true.
Normal in America, weird in Russia. Part 1. When you go on a date, splitting the bill 50-50 is really weird in Russia. Guys will take care of all the bills. You don't have to worry. You don't have to think like, oh, should I take out my wallet or not? In marriage too, I've seen some families here in America where husband and wife, they split the bill. In Russia, her money is her money and his money is her money.
Or they have just general, like, it's theirs and that's it. It's not like her and his, it's just theirs.
Greeting strangers. Here in America, we always say, hey, what's up? Hey, how are you? Like, why would you say hi to a stranger? In America, once you turn 18, you have to move.
Yeah, before greetings strangers. So in Russia, you never greet a stranger, never ever. And I remember when I was a schoolgirl, in a primary school, yes. So when I was a schoolgirl, like a primary school girl, we we had a prank, like we pranked the adults and saying hi to them, like going from school to like coming back home, and we would say hi to adults and that we don't know, and then just run away. And we found it funny, very funny. I know it sounds stupid, but yeah, it was fun that day.
Of course, not whole family. In Russia, there's no such thing, actually. You can live with your parents till you die. And even after marriage, you can live with your parents with your husband. That's totally fine. If you don't have money for your own place, you can live with your parents. That's totally okay.
Yeah, she's true. Because, for example, I myself lived till 27, yeah, with my parents. Like then I got married, but yeah.
Follow for part 2. This is actually peas and sweet potato.
Here's another thing that gives me culture shock, even though I grew up in the United States. I have Russian parents, and even if you grow up in the US and you have Russian parents, you're going to be kind of Russian. My parents spent the first 33 years of their lives in the Soviet Union, so that's going to affect how I grew up. In Russia, there's this concept of like not talking about how great you are or how smart you are or how good things are for you. Like if a person is talking about how smart they are, that would be a sign that they're actually not smart, because an actual smart person would just do smart things and be smart, and you would know that they were smart by that and not about them talking about it. Like that person's trying to convince you that they're smarter than they actually are. But here's the problem. In the US, you have to talk about how good you are at stuff all the time, like in job interviews, for example. And that was really hard for my parents, and it's really hard for me because they raised me with these values. There's also a superstition of not talking about how good things are for you or talking about good things that might happen because you might jinx it. I think that comes from the Soviet Union. People in the Soviet Union learned not to brag about good things because then that might get them in trouble. If someone gets jealous, they might report on you. They might think that you have more than you should have. But in America, it's normal. Even when people say, hey, how are you? The answer is good or great or whatever. It doesn't mean you're actually good. That's just the answer. And that weirded my parents out for the longest time. Someone at the grocery store would ask, how are you? And they would say how they actually were.
I can imagine this. I can imagine myself doing the same thing.
I don't know if that's still the case in Russia. Maybe it's different now. I haven't been back there in a long, long time. So let me know if you notice anything similar.
I think she's right. Yes, it's not in our culture to talk about ourselves like in a good way, to, show off or something like this, to praise ourselves. Yeah, it's not in our culture. Okay, next one. You're a teenager in Russia, 90s. Okay, I was not a teenager. I was a kid, like a toddler, actually. And my husband was a kid too, in 90s, I mean. But I think, let's see if it's true. It still can be true for us. Oh, it looks like it looks like my school gym in my hometown, like in the small town that I'm originally from. Like really, like not really literally the same. I think even the colors. Maybe, yeah. I don't have little brothers, but I have older brothers, and I guess they looked like this. Those days, yes. Oh, the cousin. Okay. I didn't have a cousin who would look like this, but I did have an uncle, my mother's brother, older brother. He was, literally like this. Okay, look, this is the salad called Olivier. We usually prepare, like cook it, actually every occasion, like a birthday, if it's your, for example, my older brother's favorite salad is Olivier, so we cook it every occasion, for example, for his birthday or something like this. And the rating says, I actually don't care what a bowl it was made in, I'm still gonna eat it. Okay. I think it doesn't look very delicious, but it is delicious, believe me. If you want to date a Slavic girl, never give her an even number of followers. Oh, yeah. Yeah, do you know why? If you don't, let me tell you that even number of flowers, we use this bouquets only for a funeral, like for dead people. So if you give someone an even number of flowers, that's not very cool. Oh, that was the last video, actually. Great. If you enjoyed the video, liked it, and leave a comment below and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.